My niece emailed me, "You're not welcome at our baby shower." So I gave them a gift they'll never forget. Before I tell you my whole story, let me know in the comments what part of the world you're listening to me from. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 38 years old, and I work as a financial manager at a logistics company here in Chicago. I've always been known in my family as the one who solves everyone's problems. You know that person who's always available? That was me. For years, I was the aunt who never said no. I remember perfectly the day I received that email. It was a gray Tuesday in March. I was at the office reviewing reports when my phone buzzed. "Sarah, after a family discussion, we've decided that you're not invited to the baby shower. We hope you understand. Best regards, Emma." My 26-year-old niece, my younger sister's daughter, had excluded me from the most important event of her life with the coldness of a corporate memo. My first reaction was to reread the message 3 times, thinking I had misunderstood. Emma, the same girl I picked up from school for 2 years when my sister Kate was going through that messy divorce. The same one I took shopping for prom when her father disappeared without a trace. The same one I lent $15,000 to for the down payment on the apartment where she now lived with her husband. I sat there, staring at my phone screen, feeling a tightness in my chest that wasn't exactly surprise. It was more like the recognition of something I had suspected for a while but refused to accept. In recent months, I had noticed a subtle distancing. Calls that weren't returned, messages answered only with "okay," invitations that always came at the last minute, as if they were an obligation. What hurt me most wasn't even the exclusion itself, but the way it was done. An email, not even a phone call or a personal conversation, as if I were a vendor being dismissed from a contract. And that phrase, "after a family discussion," made it clear it had been a deliberate, planned decision where my name was discussed and my presence judged unwanted. I kept wondering what exactly they had said about me. Sarah's been acting weird lately. She might make things awkward. You know how she is with her opinions. The scenarios played in my mind like a broken record, each one more hurtful than the last. How long had they been planning this? Days? Weeks? The cold professionalism of that email suggested this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was calculated exclusion, wrapped in polite language but brutal in its execution. I put my phone away and tried to get back to work, but the words echoed in my head. What family discussion was that? Who else was involved? Did my sister Kate know? And my parents? During the 15 years since I became the family's available single aunt, how many other conversations like this had happened behind my back? That night, driving home, a strange clarity began to form. It wasn't anger I felt. It was something deeper. It was the crystal clear perception that I had spent years building one-sided relationships, where I gave and they received, where I adapted and they decided. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like chasing after them, trying to understand, humiliating myself asking for explanations. At home, I opened a bottle of wine and began to think. Emma and her husband had scheduled the baby shower for 3 weeks away. It would be in the party room of the condo complex where they lived, the same apartment whose down payment I had financed. An ironic smile formed on my lips. They wanted an unforgettable gift. Well, they were going to get exactly that. Throughout my childhood and adolescence, my mother always said I was too generous for my own good. "Sarah, you need to learn to value yourself," she would repeat. But I had interpreted love as unconditional availability. I had confused being a good person with being a doormat. That night, looking out the window of my apartment that I had earned with my own sweat, I decided it was time for a lesson in self-esteem, not just for me, but for the whole family. In the 15 years following my parents' divorce, I had involuntarily become everyone's financial and emotional pillar. When Kate needed money to restart her life, I was there. When Emma wanted to go to private college and her allowance wasn't enough, I supplemented it. When my parents needed to renovate the house, guess who lent the money? And in all those years, I never charged anything, never demanded recognition, never set boundaries. But that email had changed everything. For the first time, I could see the toxic pattern that had been established. I wasn't seen as family. I was seen as a bank, a financial institution with legs that showed up when needed and could be discarded when no longer convenient. It was time to present the bill. I called the bank the next morning and requested a statement of all the loans I had made to family members over the past 15 years. Then I looked for a lawyer specializing in family law. Not because I wanted to sue anyone, but because I wanted to understand exactly what my rights were and how to do everything within the law. What I discovered surprised me. During all those years, I had spent almost $200,000 on various family members. Money that, added to interest and adjustments, represented a very significant amount today. More importantly, I had proof of everything. Bank transfers, emails confirming amounts, WhatsApp messages saying, "Thank you." Kate had always been my parents' favorite daughter, the pretty one, the one who married early and had children. I was the career woman, the independent one, the one who didn't need anything because she had her life together. But now I realized how convenient this family narrative had been for everyone. While I was seen as the strong one who didn't need emotional support, they felt justified in only looking for me when they needed financial help. Emma's email had just been the last straw. In recent months, I had noticed how my presence at family events was tolerated, not celebrated. How I was always placed at the singles table, even though I was 38 years old with an established career. How my professional successes were minimized, while any achievement of others was exalted. But what bothered me most was realizing that I had allowed this, that in my eagerness to be accepted and loved, I had transformed myself into a version of myself that didn't respect her own boundaries, that I had taught my family to devalue me through my own behavior. The strategy I developed wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. It was about clearly and unquestionably showing the real value of my contribution to that family. It was about finally establishing healthy boundaries and teaching everyone how to treat me with the respect I deserved. I spent hours calculating every dollar, every favor, every sacrifice I had made. The late-night drives to pick up Emma from parties when she was underage, the weekend trips to help Kate move apartments 3 different times, the co-signing on loans when their credit wasn't good enough, the emergency funds I provided without question, never asking when I'd be paid back. I realized I had been subsidizing their entire adult lives while they treated me like an ATM with no feelings attached. The documentation process was therapeutic in a way I hadn't expected. Seeing it all laid out in black and white made me understand just how much I had given of myself, financially and emotionally, without any reciprocity. For 2 weeks, I maintained absolute silence. I didn't respond to messages, didn't answer calls, didn't participate in the family WhatsApp group. I wanted everyone to feel my absence before understanding the reason for it. I wanted them to realize, by contrast, how present I had been in their lives before they decided to exclude me. On the day of the baby shower, while they gathered to celebrate, I was at the notary's office, signing some very important documents. Documents that would forever change the dynamics of that family and that, yes, would give Emma a gift she would never forget. The party had started at 3 p.m. At 4:30, I knew they would all be gathered, that the gifts would have been opened, that they would be at that pause moment before the cake. It was exactly at 4:45 that I rang the apartment doorbell. Emma opened the door wearing a light pink dress, prominent belly, a smile that completely faded when she saw me. "Aunt Sarah, but you, we said that," she stammered, looking over her shoulder to see if anyone else had seen me. "Hello, Emma. I came to deliver your gift personally." I handed her a sealed, elegant envelope. "It's something you'll never forget, as I promised." She took the envelope with trembling hands, clearly uncomfortable. "Aunt, about the email. It's just that. No need to explain. Dear, open the gift. I'm curious to see your reaction." Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper, an official document, signed and notarized, a friendly collection notice listing all the amounts I had lent to Emma over the years. $15,000 for the apartment down payment, $3,000 for college, $2,000 for the wedding party, $1,500 for the honeymoon. Total, $21,500, plus interest and monetary correction, totaling $28,000. Emma's face lost all color. "Aunt, this is... You can't be serious." "Completely serious, dear. Since you decided as a family that I wasn't welcome, I decided it was also time to reconsider some family arrangements. You have 60 days to pay off the debt. Everything is explained there." That's when my sister Kate appeared behind Emma. "Sarah, what's happening here?" Emma, with a choked voice, handed the paper to her mother. I saw the exact moment Kate processed the information. Her eyes widened and she looked at me as if she were seeing a ghost. "You can't do this, Amar, Sarah. We're family." "Exactly. Kate, we're family. And families respect each other mutually. Families don't exclude members by email. Families don't meet to decide who is or isn't welcome at important events." My voice was calm but firm. For 15 years, I confused being a good person with being a doormat. Today I'm correcting that mistake. The guests began to approach, curious about the discussion at the door. I saw my parents get up from their chairs, worried. It was exactly what I wanted. For everyone to see. For everyone to understand that actions have consequences. I could hear the whispers starting, the uncomfortable shuffling of feet, the clinking of glasses being set down on tables. "Atta, what's happening? Is that Sarah? Why does Emma look so pale?" The baby shower atmosphere had completely shifted from celebration to crisis, and I felt a surge of satisfaction knowing that their perfect little gathering was being disrupted by the truth they had tried so hard to hide. My mother approached with that familiar look of disappointment, the same expression she wore whenever I caused drama by standing up for myself. But this time, I was prepared for it. This time, I had documentation, legal backing, and most importantly, the unshakable knowledge that I was absolutely right. "Emma, you taught me a valuable lesson with that email," I continued, looking directly into my niece's eyes. "You showed me that I wasn't seen as family, but as a bank. So I decided to behave exactly like a bank, with interest, deadlines, and consequences for default." Kate tried to argue, talk about difficult times, about family, about forgiveness. "Sarah, please, we can work this out. You know we love you. This is just a misunderstanding." Emma was stressed about the pregnancy. She didn't mean it like that. The words spilled out of her mouth in desperation, the same manipulative phrases I'd heard countless times before. "We're sorry, okay? We made a mistake. But this is too far. You're destroying our family over one stupid email." But I was no longer willing to listen to the same empty promises and guilt trips. For 15 years, I had heard all those words whenever they asked me for money. They only remembered we were family when they needed something or when consequences came knocking. Now it was time for actions, not pretty words. "The document is signed and legally valid," I explained calmly. "You have 60 days. If you can't pay it off, I can accept installments up to 12 times, with market interest rates. After all, I learned that family relationships can also be commercial. right? The silence that followed was deafening. All the guests listening, all the family members processing the information. My father tried to approach, but I raised my hand. "Dad, did you know about this family discussion about me not being welcome?" I saw the answer on his face before he could even speak. Everyone knew. Everyone participated in this decision. I hadn't just been excluded from an event. I had been deliberately pushed out of the family circle by people who, for years, had benefited from my generosity. "Well," I said, adjusting my purse on my shoulder, "now you can continue the baby shower. I hope it's all very happy and harmonious. Emma, congratulations on the baby. I hope he grows up learning about reciprocity and respect, values that seem to have been lost in this family." I turned to leave, but stopped at the door and looked one last time at everyone. "Oh, and if you want to talk about installment plans or debt renegotiation, my lawyer will be available. The contacts are in the document. Good afternoon." 6 months later, I'm here telling this story, and I can say it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. Emma managed to pay off half the debt by selling some things and borrowed the rest from the bank, paying much higher interest rates than what I charged. Kate tried to call me several times, but I only answered when she offered to talk about establishing healthy boundaries in our relationship. My parents, initially shocked, eventually acknowledged that I was right, that they had created a toxic dynamic where I was valued only for what I could offer financially. Today our relationship is different, more balanced, more respectful. Emma gave birth to a beautiful boy in September. She called me from the hospital, crying, apologizing for what she had done. She said that throughout the pregnancy she thought about the lesson I had given, that she understood that raising a child means teaching values like respect and reciprocity, that she wanted her son to know the aunt who had the courage to value herself. "Aunt Sarah," she whispered through tears, "I want to teach him to be better than we were. I want him to understand that love isn't just about taking, it's about giving back. I want him to respect the people who love him, not just use them." Her words hit deeper than any apology could. This wasn't just about us anymore. It was about breaking generational patterns, about teaching the next generation that love requires mutual respect. I went to visit them at the hospital. I brought a simple but meaningful gift, a book about healthy boundaries and balanced family relationships. On the card, I wrote, "So he grows up knowing that true love includes mutual respect." The experience completely transformed me. I learned that setting boundaries isn't being a bad person, it's being healthy. That saying no sometimes is necessary for yes to have value. That people who truly love us respect our boundaries. They don't try to cross them. Today I have more authentic relationships with all my family members. Not because they changed overnight, but because I changed first. Because I started treating myself with the respect I always deserved and taught them how to treat me. If you're reading this and identifying with it, if you're that person who always gives and never receives, who's always available but never a priority, who always lends but is never remembered, you're not alone. And more importantly, you deserve better. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-care. Demanding reciprocity isn't selfishness, it's dignity. And sometimes, to teach people how to value us, we first need to value ourselves. The gift I gave Emma really was unforgettable, but the biggest gift was for myself, the courage to finally put myself first, to demand the respect I always deserved, to transform toxic relationships into healthy relationships. If this story touched you, if you've lived through something similar or know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Let's create a support network for people who are learning to value themselves. Let's show that self-love isn't selfishness, it's necessary, and that we all deserve relationships based on mutual respect, not unilateral convenience. I've learned that being the generous one in the family often means being the designated victim, the person everyone expects to give endlessly, without complaint. But generosity without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling dysfunction. Real love requires honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. Real family relationships require all parties to contribute, not just one person carrying everyone else's burdens. The most surprising thing about this whole experience wasn't how my family reacted. It was how many other people reached out to me afterward with similar stories. Apparently, there's an epidemic of family ATMs out there. People who've been conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to their willingness to be financially and emotionally exploited by relatives. Because in the end, the best gift we can give ourselves is the courage to say, "I deserve better," and then act according to that truth.